Aloha, welcome back to Aina Bear Farm. It's a beautiful spring day. I want to give you guys a quick little spring update tour. So we'll walk around the food forest, check out how things are coming together. You might be able to see from here, if you've seen any of our previous videos, that the trees are coming up, getting established. Definitely starting to fill in this pasture that we're converting to food forest on about 4 acres. Well, 3 acres of pasture. We start right here with a cool update with our Berlinia. This is the biggest Berlinia that we have. It's probably about 8 feet. It was put in the ground about 1.5 years ago as a 2.5, 3 foot seedling. And if you look at the trunk on that guy, these are just growers in the Annona family. One of my favorite fruits. So delicious, and I'm so excited because we've got our first flowers coming. So if you're on the continent, the mainland US, these flowers might look a little familiar. This is in the same family as the pawpaw, which we used to grow at Elderbear Farm back in Maryland. And so it's got that really nice custardy, very sweet, creamy kind of texture, and it's just a delicious fruit. So super excited about that fruiting. Quick update on our Dwarf Jackfruit, the Zemon Pink. One of the biggest things that I underestimated at this site was the power of the wind. And so you may notice the extreme asymmetry of this jackfruit. And so obviously out here north is the ocean. The trade winds come at mostly this angle, and they just batter our fruit trees. I've had a few failed attempts at some windbreaks, but we finally have gotten plenty of material to propagate some Mexican sunflower, the big Tithonia diversifolia, and we're putting those on the upwind side. So I'll kind of find them down here in the grass. There's one there, and then another one here, and they grow huge, and we'll cut them back a few times so they fill in really nicely, and they'll kind of grow together here and make a nice little wind block. Protect the jackfruit a bit. This is a dwarf jackfruit, so this one doesn't get that tall, but eventually it'll probably outgrow the height of the windbreak. But we really just need to protect some of these younger branches. And it's not that big of a deal. I'm sure we'll get some new growth coming back out here. Fill this in. It was looking so great, symmetrical and balanced. And of course the problem is, since the wind is already blowing it this way, now if it's top heavy on this side, that doesn't help matters. But one of the downsides of our beautiful site is that we had a lot of wind. It's about 3 weeks ago, we had 1.5, 2 weeks of sustained 30-mile-an-hour winds, and then 50 and 60-mile-an-hour gusts, which is somewhat common here. It's not irregular at all. It happens several times throughout the year. And so one of the things missing in a lot of our plantings of fruit trees is windbreak. So we're really working on that quite a bit. We'll talk more about that today as we look around. Here's an example of a young seedling that is much more protected. It's got sun hemp planted on both sides, nitrogen fixer, beautiful flowers, pollinator friendly, prolific seed producer, so you can just kind of cast it all over the place, get plenty of extra seeds. And so we're blocking some of the wind from this side, and then we're blocking some of the hot afternoon sun on this side for this young little lychee, which we air layered off of one of our mature trees on the property, and it's leafing out now. Got some nice new bright green spring growth there. Seems to be really enjoying being tucked in to this little cluster of sun hemp. So some of the plantings we've been able to get in ahead of time, kind of prepare the site a little bit better than the others that are still very exposed. But that Mexican sunflower is going to fill in really quickly and create a lot of windscreen. Hopefully by the summer, everything will be blocked up pretty well. There's several sites where we propagated Glier Cydia, the Madre de Cacao, which is a nitrogen fixer, grows super fast, and often takes from cuttings. So you can just cut lots of pieces like that, jam them in the ground, keep them watered, and you get new growth. And this one looks like it's rooted. By the size, this thing grows so fast. By the summer, I would anticipate 6 or 7 foot long branches on this. So really help fill in a lot of the gaps between our fruit trees for now. Slow down some of the wind, create some chop and drop for next year. So we would cut it back as we go into the wet season in the winter, open up the canopy a little bit, feed the trees, and then let it fill back in for the summer to create a little more shade again for our young trees. So that's kind of the cycle we use with those. Some of the fruit trees in the tropics do a leaf drop. So you can see a little bit of leaf litter on the ground there. Some sort of shed leaves just throughout the year as they get older. This is a Soursop, also in the Annona family, like the Berlinia. And what it seems to do is, as in the winter, the colder, wetter months, the leaves start to look kind of ragged, the older leaves. You can see like that. And then they just drop, and then the new leaf flush comes out, nice and strong, healthy and green looking. And then they drop all the older ones. So it's almost like a very quick autumn period for some of these plants. And then they create a nice leaf litter on the ground. As this gets bigger, the leaf litter will actually really help as an additional mulch. Here we've got a Longan or Longan down here, and in the background is a very nice full, more or less fully grown Mexican sunflower. So I just kind of wanted you to see the fullness that they can get. And they can get taller than this too. This one's about to bloom, which puts out beautiful sunflowers on it if you let it go to bloom. We'll probably chop this back, use it as chop and drop. It's not really doing too much protection on this Longan. It's kind of more on the interior side, but this is a nice wind protected spot in the garden anyways, so we don't need it, and it doesn't really do any shade protection as well, but good chop and drop spot. And we've propagated a lot of other material off of this plant. Here we've got our little papaya grove, about 6 papaya trees out here. They all have fruit on them. None of them particularly impressive in terms of fruit growth, but in terms of tree growth, they're unbelievable. And that could have something to do with the fertilizer profile. I used a compost that had is a store-bought compost with bat droppings and worm castings mixed with our rabbit manure that we get from our rabbits here. And so I think that could be part of it. Just a huge flush of nitrogen created these giant trees, and not so much focused on like a huge fruit haul. But some of these, as you look up, and I stopped fertilizing them, so once you kind of look up, there's a lot of fruit in there. If those all go to full size, I mean, we'll have plenty of fruit off of just this little grove. And then we've got additional papaya in our garden that are like this tall and have twice as much fruit on them. That's kind of more what you're looking for when you're growing papaya typically. But you know, you get a lot of chop and drop out of this stuff, and not disappointed at all. Just to my left, got a monkey pod that is really starting to get big, nitrogen fixer, creating some shade on this back side for our mamaki. And we've got a ground cover of Perennial Peanut that's getting nicely established here. And so we're taking care to keep this weeded so that we can keep spreading, get it real nice and thick in there. And eventually it becomes pretty close to maintenance free, the occasional weeding, but it gets so dense that it will shade out a lot of other things and fix nitrogen, and just a nice ground cover. And the mamaki is looking great in the shade of that monkey pod. So I'm excited to show this part. You can see our path is on contour here. Follows the contour around the shape of the land. Sorry for the wind, it's starting to kick up for the day. Hopefully the sound won't be too bad. But I've got this little patch here on the upslope that is a little bit of a test patch where I'm going to start just clearing grass. Some of you may have heard me talk about this in previous videos, our sort of succession plan for what we're going to do with all this grass. So I started clearing out the grass, getting all the roots out and everything, and then just really overseeding this with pigeon pea and sun hemp, and then sticking in specific plants to diversify the planting area. So we've got a banana keiki there. This is one that gets really big. We've got a Lu'i, the green tea plant, some coleus, which will fill in really nice, add some color. We're gonna come back and put in some root stuff in here, like turmeric, ginger, kalo. We do have some pigeon pea that's already popping up over there. Got some Mexican sunflower, a little hard to see, popping up here from a cutting, which will create some wind block for this other Berlinia here. And so this is, like I said, a test patch for an idea that we want to work on quite a bit this summer, which is starting to clear out entire lines following our paths to put in just a wall of diverse plant material, root crops, a lot of biomass with banana keiki, put in some more Glier Cydia, Lucana, pigeon pea, sun hemp, lots of nitrogen fixers. We just want to really start to switch over the grass ecosystem into something way more diverse, with lots more diversity in terms of canopy, something that will create a lot more windbreak, something that doesn't require the constant maintenance of coming and mowing all this grass down. Which, if you've seen our videos on chop and drop and things, you know this grass is an incredible resource for us. We feed it to our trees. If I look just to my right, this is a kaimito, purple star fruit, or sorry, star apple. And you can see the big pile of grass around. It makes a nice deep mulch. So we'll continue to use it, and we will have plenty more, as you can see, around the areas that we've cleared. We'll continue to have grass for quite some time, but we also want some more woody plant material to chop and drop. We want more root diversity, ecosystem diversity, to really start making this feel more like a forest. So be excited about that. I'll definitely be doing some great video content this summer, talking about our design of these and our construction of them. The hardest part with these is getting all the plant material. Just kind of gathering it all up, getting it ready, and then planting it all at once so that you're not fighting the other weeds and the grass coming back in. Because if you clear it and then you don't fill that space, nature is going to fill it for you with things you may not want. I'll just show off this ice cream bean real quick. This little guy was this tall when we planted it about 1.5 years ago, and now it is becoming a for real tree. That is so exciting. It's creating for real shade, and now instead of just grass everywhere, we're starting to get a more diverse ecosystem with this shade here. We're going to dig this out soon. Plant, I believe Grumichama is going to go there, Brazilian cherry, which is more of an understory. And we'll just let that grow in the dappled shade of this now booming ice cream bean. All its nice new red growth on there for the spring. And then just behind that, you can see some towering bananas. Got quite a few racks over there, plenty of keiki. Some of the leaves on these bananas are probably 8 feet long. It just blows my mind. I love it. Okay, and then kind of the last little part of the tour for now is I'm going to take you through this section of the food forest that I haven't really given an update on in a while. And this is an area that we're going to more or less maintain as a crop system. A lot more annuals, of course maybe a few perennials in here, but we want to keep it from getting too overgrown because it's hard to tell from down here, but we have a great view of the ocean from our house through here, and I don't really want to block it with a lot of trees when we have plenty of other space up there for dense tree plantings. And I mean, I could plant lower trees and shrubs and things down here, keep them pruned, all that stuff, but I also would like to have the area to do some more crop type of things. So you can see we've got a nice line of white pineapples on this side, quite a few of which are already fruiting. And on this side, we did dried black beans over the winter, so we harvested all those. And we missed some of them, and they are poking up through the straw, and that's totally fine. Fixing some nitrogen with some, I think that's just standard, like Italian basil in the middle, and then I'll say down slope. What the plan is for now is to leave. So we have a crop row and then a section of grass that we'll leave. Then we'll cut another crop row, grass row, crop row, grass row. We'll let the grass grow up, mow it, feed it to our crop rows. And same thing upslope. So this will be a line of grass, and then we'll do a crop row. And then just come and cut that down. And then that'll keep us flush with a nice deep mulch, which lowers the amount of weeding we have to do. It keeps the ground moist. It gets really dry here in the summer. We definitely need mulch with our hot summer tropical sun. And we will be putting in irrigation lines down here, probably at the very beginning of the summer, May, June. And we'll have that, but we like to have the extra moisture locking function of keeping that grass. And the other thing is that within the pineapple, planted some moringa. It's a little dual purpose. We'll let it get up to about 6 or 7 feet, kind of maintain it at that level, but it'll provide a little bit of dappled shade for the pineapple, which it actually likes. That way the fruits themselves don't get burned. We've got a little fruit there. It's really leaning quite a bit, but I think it'll be okay. And then over on the sweet potato side, we also have, if I can get out of my own shadow, some fennel planted in the middle. This part. And then as we go down, we switch to Tulsi basil, holy basil, in the middle of that section. And so I'm pretty excited about just continuing to fill up this area with pineapple as we get more starters and slips, and then watching this get overrun with sweet potato vines through the summer, and then we'll harvest those late summer. And as we turn back this way, got some new mangoes. This is a Kerry mango that's already flowering. Obviously don't expect any fruit at that size, but I'm kind of just letting it do its thing. Mangoes tend to do fine with that kind of push. Sun hemp, kind of blocking that. And then down here at the corner, we've got a loquat. Put on a nice little flush of fruit for this year, and so I've been snacking on loquats as we come out here. This is the golden nugget, grafted variety. Looking pretty good, a little top heavy. So I'm actually trying to eat these as fast as I can to kind of loosen up the weight. You can see it leaning. Loosen up the weight at the top, let it relax. I might prune it back too, just to let the trunk, the rootstock wood thicken up and strengthen up a little bit. And then lastly, I wanted to show you the Kalo patch that's down here. And so we're just experimenting with a few different varieties of Kalo we've gotten our hands on. Taro, Kalo. These are looking, pretty much all looking great. Certainly have, some, the purple stem variety is looking really good. We have been cooking with the leaves, making lau lau. It's a nice local dish if you're not from here, where you wrap foods with the leaves and then steam them, and then the leaves taste a little bit like a collard greens type of flavor. And we made these amazing lau lau with sweet potato, breadfruit, ulu, carrots, and then we made a mac nut butter with olive oil and salt and filled that in there as the fat and wrapped them in the Kalo leaves and steamed them. They were unbelievably delicious. It's almost a complete meal right there. Get a little extra protein in there and you're good to go. So these are doing great. I dug a trench, filled it in with food waste compost before I planted all of these. And then I've just made sure they get plenty of water. They're at a low section. Kalo likes a lot of water, even the upland, dryland types, which these are. They still like to, they do not want to dry out at all. So these will get harvested within the next month and a half. We'll dig them up, eat the main corm, and then replant the little bits they call huli. It's kind of like a keiki of a kalo, or like a baby plant, and extend this patch further out that way, and it'll be a whole nice long row and plenty of kalo. So looking back up towards the hillside, you really start to see things filling in nicely. I think by the summer, it's really going to start to feel a lot more like a food forest as opposed to an orchard with lots of random things stuck in the middle. So thanks for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed the tour and the updates. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and definitely throw any comments, questions in that comment section. Anything helpful that you've done in your area that you think would work great here. I'm all ears. Until next time, aloha from Ina Bear Farm.